are you?
Hi, good. How are you?
I am well, thank you. We've been speaking since the beginning of the year, I believe, about your powerful modality called trance movement. And I just want you to know I am so honored to spend this time with you and excited to ask you a few questions and to dive deeper into what has inspired you to create trance movement and the essence of the practice, the details about the trainings that I know that you are holding, and what's unfolding in the future. How does that sound?
Sounds good. Yeah, thank you. It's
Yeah,
wonderful to connect
great.
to you this way.
Yeah,
So such wonderful questions too.
great. Well,
Yeah.
let's go ahead and,
So
and begin.
yeah,
And I would love to just ask if you can just share a bit about your background and what led you to create trans movement.
yeah. And earlier you said what inspired me, right? I thought that was a
Yeah.
wonderful question. There's a lot of inspiration from different, I would say, variety of sources and places and people that came into all of this. So maybe I can start off by first mentioning that's maybe one of the unique ways of why trance movement as a practice is so powerful is exactly the way that we sort of integrate, we fused or merged some of these powerful sources of inspiration, teachings, practices into this one really powerful practice that really, moves, really transforms lives. Um, so having said that, looking at where the inspiration comes from and maybe I can take you back a little bit
Please.
to where my personal inspiration came from. About 25 years ago, I would say approximately, I was still in the process of studying to become a psychologist, and so I learned a lot there. Getting my master's degree, and so some of the inspiration comes from there. I learned a lot about the human psyche, the human condition, you could say, all kinds of ailments that people can, walk around with, ways that people can get stuck. So that's more clinical psychology, right? About how can people get stuck in their lives and what kind of, therapies, treatments does, Western medicine, psychology, for example, offer. But I was not particularly interested in that. Within studying psychology, I mostly studied you could say culture and religion, religious and spiritual practices. I also love to travel, and so also in my travels, I encountered different, peoples and different ways of different takes on things, right? Different ways of looking at things,
Yeah.
um, and so there were a lot of different sources of inspiration, you could say, in that sense. Um, and I was fortunate during my formal education, but also in the years after to have learned a lot from different traditions and practices and different teachers, both traditional ones and contemporary ones. And two I might mention here, worthwhile mentioning, would be Frank Natale and Wilbert Alex, both Americans who were also really involved in bringing these gems, these different forms of inspiration and practices that we find around the world and that really complements the Western practice and view on things to bring that all together, right, in a powerful practice. And back in those days, we still called it trance dance, which is a term that some people still use, and I also sometimes call it that. But in the meantime, my understanding, or you could say our understanding, throughout the years, because by now there's a whole community of facilitators offering this to people, that our understanding about the movement part of it, aspect of it, has deepened and widened that we now call it trance movements
Mhm.
as a movement meditation. But often, of course, it unfolds like a dance, and there's a reason for that too. There's an amazing connection in humans between rhythm, music, and human consciousness, and what how that affects us. And so these things are not a coincidence. Why we package it, so to speak, how we set it up like that. But yeah, many sources of inspiration, and which sort of culminated finally in what we now call trance movement. And by now we also are in the process of founding an international association involved in, you know, advancing the practice, and a community of facilitators.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in the
Wow.
context of that, you know, connecting back to the US,
Yeah.
which is, by the way, a funny thing because these two people that I mentioned, Frank Natali and Wilbert Alex. So Frank came from New York,
Oh,
Wilbert was from New Orleans, and but they both, you know, mostly taught their crafts abroad. I worked for a couple of years together. I collaborated with Wilbert for a few years, and you know, both hung around in Europe, for example, a lot. But now that we are planning this first training, as we have been doing, I've been offering trainings for many years, and now we're planning a first one in Colorado in the US. And it sort of feels like bringing, you know, part of the medicine back to where some of the inspirators, you know, came from.
yeah. Wow. That's such a powerful origin story. And I love hearing how the path has unfolded into this modality. And I love how amazing it is how life has just weaved together these experiences to form something so deeply healing. And thank you for sharing so openly. I feel in my heart how personal and how soul-led this work is for you. So thank you so much for sharing that.
Thank you. Mm.
I would love to learn more about why the dancing is blindfolded and why that's such an important part of the experience.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So again, there's many cultures actually, and you know, spiritual practices, or you know, usually practices that are in the context of some spiritual or religious context, where they use blindfolds or some form of ceremonial darkness, because it's actually more about going really, really inwards and moving through darkness. And so the practical way that we usually do this is with blindfolds. And it's one of these typical elements of this practice as we teach it. Maybe the most remarkable one, right? Seeing people dancing with blindfolds, many people notice that. But that's the thing, it's not about how it looks, right? One of the reasons there's actually, I mean, we could have a whole conversation just only about the blindfolds and why and how. But one of them being, you know, to really go inward and not be distracted by how things look, how you look. Because usually in dance, one of the reasons also to look at it more from the perspective of a movement meditation, and it's about the inner process. So
Mhm.
in dance, often it's all about how it looks, and you know, to be seen or to see each other. Or so we take sort of all of that out of the equation. And also we know, but like I said, it's too much to just all go into right now. But by wearing a blindfold, you bring yourself in different states, and this is one of these commonalities that I found throughout the years in different practices when it's about really achieving altered states, right? Changing your consciousness for the purpose of healing, transforming, gaining clarity or insight. Um, the blindfold is a very powerful tool. It's a really amazing way to go through these processes and to expand your awareness and your consciousness. And yeah,
Yeah, that makes so much sense. The blindfold really becomes a gateway, doesn't it?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
I like too how it's not just a state. It's almost like a sacred return.
It is in many ways. It's like the
Yeah.
return to the essence of where you actually, who you actually are. You could even say, or where you come from, or where we come from.
Yeah. Yeah, beautifully
Because we
said.
all
And
come out of the womb of our mothers, right? And we begin our
Mhm.
life in darkness. You know, darkness is a very underestimated, how do you say, part of our work of healing and spiritual work and transformation. Because we're all about the light, right? We all want to reach the light, go to
Yeah.
the light. We're
Mhm.
attracted like moths to a flame, and there's nothing wrong with the light.
Yeah.
But we often forget that healing, for example, and transformation, becoming really clear, purifying, you know, getting the juices moving.
Mhm.
Big part of that is in darkness, right? We heal in
Yeah.
darkness. Yeah. And that's
Yes.
brings me, by the way, that's interesting. Also, I think that brings me to another part, which is very related to the darkness, is the physical aspect of it. So we move right with our bodies, we breathe, we move. Another element that we work with is breath awareness, breath work techniques. But we really allow our bodies to move on, sounds. So sound, another important element, rhythm, music.
Yeah.
In order to access, you could say, the subconscious. That's just another way of looking at it. There's many different ways, and we talk about all of these topics, by the way, extensively in the facilitator trainings that we offer. Um, there's a little bit of sunshine shining through here right now. This is maybe better. I don't know.
It looks nice.
Okay. Well, so what was I saying? Another way to look at the subconscious is that your body is your subconscious in a way. That's in a
Mhm.
way that's really true. And so exploring engaging the whole system, the whole body, mind, emotion, energy
Yeah.
system gets you moving and healing and transforming and whatever's happening on all levels, you could say, in all different dimensions or levels of your beingness or your becomingness, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautifully said. And I can I can already just imagine the shift in awareness that happens when the eyes are closed to the outer world. Wow.
Sure. It's
It's
not
an
for nothing
important,
that most meditations, you could say, begin with somebody saying, for example, please close your eyes.
right.
That's when it
That's
really
true.
actually just begins. Yeah? It begins with
Yeah.
the darkness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, then you talked about rhythm in music, and it sounds like the music plays a vital role. Can you speak maybe about how you select music and how it supports the participants in entering that that trance-like state?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so music is one of these great discoveries throughout the years for me. All these different also genres and cultures and rhythms and instruments and sounds. I think it's also, one of these things that are really picked up by society at large. The healing power of movement and dance, for example. um, There's another thing, by the way, that I really noticed throughout the years, that one of the basic elements of the most powerful of these healing practices that we, bring together in trance movement is that it's very physical. Also, like I said, it moves you on all layers. So nowadays we call that somatic therapy, for example, somatic experience. And so music plays a big role in that. And it's, again, another one of these big topics that I could, talk a lot about. But to mention just shortly that we humans have this very magical, special relationship with sound and especially rhythm. Even our brains seem to be intertwined with rhythm in such a way that it brings us into altered states, right? Into deep forms of meditation. Because another way to look at altered states and trance is that it's a form of really deep meditation. This is what actually inspired me and brought me to these practices. I mean, I love, of course, to, really drop from the busy mind and daily life into a meditative state, which we nowadays call alpha, for example, frequency, or another way to look at it. But we can drop even deeper than that, right? And delve really into other realms of our beingness and our becomingness. And so music is a powerful tool to bring us into these altered states and to make the journey, right? Because it's a process, it's a journey. Usually, a session, a ritual like this takes somewhere between an hour, hour and a half. And so we have a whole musical journey. And so, what can I say? There's so much to tell, but there are many
Right.
different genres and types and instruments and types of music and rhythms that facilitate this process beautifully. And especially, of course, in the training, in the facilitator training, we get into this more to allow people to experience all these different sounds and musical genres and also to learn more about that.
Yeah.
Um,
It
yeah,
sounds like the music it isn't just in the background, but it's almost also co-facilitating in the process.
sure, of course. Yeah, it is
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah,
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah,
And also maybe um, how the music can feel like it's the soul's language, how it can really shift you into those states.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
This
Yeah.
is what it connects us also to the dance, because we are a unique species in the natural world. Are we quite unique in that way, the way we are
Yeah.
intertwined with rhythm? And so what we do, and what almost no species seem to be able to do, and they are researching this kind of stuff intensively, is to anticipate the rhythm, because that's the short sort of story about it. Because our in our brains we don't only listen to music and rhythm with the auditory parts of our brain that register and process sound. Of course, we also use those parts, but we listen to rhythm with our moving body, with the parts of our brain that move our body. And so
Yeah.
we anticipate the beat, right? We hear a beat and we just can't sit still, right? If you hear a beat or some rhythm, then some part of your body starts moving along with it, right? In some way, because it urges you to, come into flow with that beat. So it's an amazing way to just bring yourself in a state of flow, allowing openness, grounding in your body. Like I said, on all kinds of levels.
Yes, I
Yeah,
can see how the rhythm becomes medicine in this
yeah,
work. Yeah,
definitely. Yeah,
beautiful. Thank you for
yeah.
sharing that. Well, now I'm really excited and I'd love to hear more about the training and what does the
Mm.
structure look like and what can trainees expect?
Yeah. All right. So, we've been offering these trainings for many years now, but mostly so far in Europe. And again, bringing it back to the US in a way. And I'm looking forward to the upcoming training we planned now in September, right, together.
Yes. Yes.
And so this basic structure, first of all, of this training is that what I find mostly important when you're talking about, of course, people who are potentially want to offer this kind of practice to
Mhm.
others in group settings, or as a workshop facilitator or a coach. I find it mostly important to really come from experience, to really have experienced this kind of work profoundly, and to really go through the process. And so, for the first part of this training is structured as a retreat setup. So we all come together for a full week, very immersive, experiential retreat. So, like I said, we can do our sessions and have our moments and all these different kinds of music. We do a lot of sharing, reflecting on what's happening, and in the meantime, some teaching also, of course, about theoretical background. How does all of this work, and why did we do it that way?
Mhm.
On topics that were mentioned just now, like breath work, blindfolds, processes of healing and growth, psychology, neurology. But mostly experiential. And then the second part of the training will focus more on the facilitation.
Oh,
So the structure of the second part will be in the form of Zoom sessions. I think we planned six different Zoom sessions in the course of 2 months, leading up to certification as a facilitator. And so then we'll mostly look at things like holding space, right? Safety. I think you would, with the work that you do as well,
yeah.
agree that safety is of the essence. All kinds of safety, right? So emotional safety, physical safety, of course, with blindfolds, but also spiritual safety. As we all know, right by now, nobody can truly heal when they don't feel safe. So that's a big topic. But also the music, what kind of sounds, how with the sound system, instruments. So all the basics that you sort of need to know to be able to, offer this to groups of people. So that's the sort of the basic structure of how we offer it. So basic first retreat as a module as a retreat, and then a couple of Zoom sessions leading up to certification.
That's so well thought out. It sounds like a truly immersive and integrative training. And I
Yeah,
appreciate how you're guiding trainees through their own inner transformation and not just teaching techniques. It feels like it's more than a training. It really feels like it's a journey for them.
it is, of course. It
Yeah.
should be, right? And that's
Yes.
also this chance, right? Because we've also decided to open up this training module, for example, now in September in Colorado, for those who want to go through mostly the experience and not to be trained as a facilitator.
Mhm.
So we'll put that up there on the website as a possibility,
Great.
and those people will, for example, have more free time, space, right? In the afternoon, we'll be doing some teaching. For example, they will have free time to go for into nature or whatever they like. So that's a
Yeah.
possibility to really experience it. But yeah, for the training itself, also I think that's very important. And also, then you can really not just yourself, but also in the circle of people who come together.
Yeah.
And we're already looking forward to another circle, of people as you do them as well, right? Where we reflect, share, and we touch. There's alchemy happening also because we touch each other by becoming more and more authentic, right? Becoming more and more ourselves and healing stuff or going through stuff. It can be
Yes.
enjoyable, can be sometimes painful, but it's also always very beautiful and healing and empowering. Yeah,
Yeah.
some sunlight here, beautiful, but it's shining through
Yeah.
the leaves. And
There you go. That looks good. It sounds like you're building such a beautiful community and it sounds like it's growing. Could you share maybe a little bit more around maybe the types of people that trans movement tends to attract and the community that's forming around it?
interesting question. The types of people that it attracts. That's because there's a lot of variety you can imagine in that. But in general, I would say people who are people, right? Who want to work with people or either are already doing that. So, as I always notice with the circles of people we work with, that there's a great variety in backgrounds, right? People come from different backgrounds, have different life experiences, and different education and experiences, right? But usually it's people who want to, work with people, facilitate healing kinds of practices and journeys. And for me, maybe that's a good way to answer your question. For me, also back in the day when I started discovering these kind of things, uh, I resonated with lots of different aspects of the practice that were just in and of itself already
Mm.
something that I really love in life, like music and rhythm and instruments. I love playing percussion, for example. Not that it's a requirement of a facilitator to be able to necessarily play any kind of instruments. We can play music with a sound system, but just saying all these amazing parts of life that I enjoy so much, like music, like psychology, like personal processes, and guiding people, supporting people, or holding space for people going through that, come together, in this practice.
Yeah,
So
you
it
can just,
attracts people who have a resonance, ikigai, as the Japanese say, I think, with that. Um,
ah,
yeah. And by now
wow.
we have a very nice community of people, quite international. So they're in different countries where they offer their, workshops or different in different settings.
Mhm.
From at the moment mostly Europe, but it's expanding. We're also setting up trainings in the Middle East area next year, probably in either the UAE or in Kuwait, maybe Saudi Arabia. I'm not sure. Planning our
Wow.
first trainings now in the US, and so there's a growing community of facilitators with all of their different backgrounds. But we also love to bring people together and connect with each other and exchange. So that's why we're in the process now of founding this international association, which
Yeah.
will dedicates itself not only to the advancement of this practice, but also to the service of to offer different forms of service to the facilitators
Mhm.
who are offering this to be able to grow, exchange. Yeah. So next to, for example, the basic training that we offer so far, there's different master classes, as we call them now, different modules coming up that allow also our facilitators to deepen their understanding or their experience or work
Yeah.
on their own process and journey.
Yeah. I love that. Such a sacred and supportive circle that you're building. You can just, again, you can just feel the heart of the community just through the way that you speak about it. And it's such a rare find that that kind of depth and that resonance in a global movement. I'm really excited to become a part of it.
Yeah, great. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm curious too, now that you've spoke about the community and what is your vision for the future of trans movement?
What a wonderful question. Yeah, bringing it almost, you could say, back to the first question about the
Right.
inspiration. and the vision behind it. Well, first of all, I want to, and that's why I founded this association. Um, Keep advancing the practice, keep learning more, right? We're all learning and growing continually. So me as well, and we as teachers in this
Yeah.
association as well, expand, the people that we reach. And you could say this is maybe my biggest vision, so to speak. Oh wait, can you still hear me?
Yes.
Okay. There was first of all a motorcycle passing, and also my microphone was covered.
I could hear you just
So when it, mhm, okay. So when it comes to a vision for the future, what I have envisioned actually all along for decades now, and it's sort of starting to grow and grow now, is that there's just so much potential in this practice, in what we do and what we offer, and the trainings that we do, that I just see that there's many layers and places and in society where this can, benefit people, where this can really actually heal, help people to heal and to transform their lives and to come into more alignment. And so far we've been offering workshops, retreats, these trainings, of course. But I think there's many areas in society, like the clinical world, where people get through group therapies of all kinds.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of places in society where this could be utilized as a practice. And so that's my vision for the coming years. Next to training people with this basic training that we offer, is to also with groups. So when it comes to our community of facilitators, to bring people together in smaller project groups, so to speak, to really start focusing on certain areas of life. Or there's a group, for example, that's now looking at therapeutic trauma healing work, to refine our craft in that sense or in that area, and to be able to offer it in a better way to clinical settings, for example. So yeah, we're working on that. And well, so far in the US, there's one person who was certified, who did the training with us here in Germany, and now the next training will be done in the US. But I hope that
Yes.
people will start offering this in the cities, the areas, the communities where they live. Because, like I
Yeah.
said, and this is my drive, right? This is my inspiration, or my drive is that I just know it in all kinds of ways, that this practice is has so much potential to really
Yeah.
help people in their lives. And
Yes. And I can feel the expansiveness of your vision, and it's so deeply inspiring. And it sounds like the soul of trance movement is really ready to reach many more people. And it's exciting. It's beautiful to witness something so authentic growing in such a grounded way. Yeah.
thank you. Yeah,
Yeah. It's very exciting. I'm especially excited about the upcoming training here in the US this September in Colorado. And I was hoping that maybe you can tell us more about what's planned with this training.
yeah, yeah. So, like I said, there's a first basic module, this immersive retreat. So that's planned in September, and I should look up the dates. I don't know if you know them from the top of your mind, but somewhere in
Yeah,
September.
it's September. I will find that out as you're speaking.
Okay, okay, great. And so, and then these follow-up sessions, the second module will take place in November and December with online Zoom sessions.
Yeah.
And so that's the basic facilitator training as we offer it. Like I said, people come from so diverse backgrounds. So in this training, I've throughout the years put everything that I think is essential, necessary to, in some, wise sort of way, responsibly offer this to people, having gone through that process together. And then for the near future, there's things that we have planned already or are in the process of planning, like a more specialized module around sound and the music, which is already in the basic training, but together with a DJ that I know from the ecstatic dance world, we're setting up a program around how do you create these soundscapes and journeys, and how and why does that work technologically from the DJ sort of perspective, and learning about that. And also, I'm going to be bringing in that program more about the usage of instruments, sounds and different instruments organically, you could say. We
Yeah.
also offer darkness retreats, and I'm hoping maybe that we could offer that somewhere in the future also in the US. And maybe you would want to be involved in setting that up. But here in Germany, we've
Absolutely.
offered throughout the years many darkness retreats, as we've called them, where you have the opportunity, to go through a longer, more extensive period of darkness. Because in a session with trance movement, it's usually 1.5 hours of being blindfolded, which is already quite powerful. Brings you in a real serious, state of allowing, of willingness and allowing for your process. But
Yeah.
in the darkness retreats, we do that for a couple of days on end, right? Being in darkness 24/7 for a 5-day retreat, for example. So there's things coming up and things happening. So people can just check out our website. And I also was thinking, I just noticed that the early birds discount that we offered for the US training, it's about, we're right about now about at the date that it's finishes and that there's just a full price. But because we will be publishing this conversation, um, I thought about extending that for a little bit. So I would
That's
say for
very
the coming two.
generous. Yeah, that's very
Well, and I
generous of
mean, if
you.
people get interested now through, our conversation, for example, so let's say from the moment that we publish this, that there's another week wherein people can sign up, and so I'll change the early bird date by the time we publish, and then people still have a week to decide and have a little discount.
Yeah, that's great. And
Um,
the training is September 15th through the 21st of this
yeah,
year.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. And
yeah.
I know
And
I'm
another
thrilled.
thing, okay,
Go
yeah, me
ahead.
too. Yeah, looking forward to meet you in person also.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Mm.
yeah. Because I know that I know so many who are really ready for this type of movement and healing, and it's going to be such a profound experience for those that join. And again, I just cannot thank you enough for bringing this sacred work across the ocean.
Well, society at large seems to be more and more in need of this kind of work, right? I mean,
Yeah.
everybody is scared, stressed, confused. There's so much happening, and so what
Mhm.
we actually really, really need right now is to really drop, into the
Yes.
felt presence of the moment,
Yes.
out of our busy minds, and yeah.
Yeah,
So
and I think that
mhm.
that early bird registration discount, those options, I think for those who are really called to join, it's going to make it more accessible. And I know that it's going to
Yeah,
help so many people who are uh, feeling the call, but also need that extra support. So it's such a beautiful invitation for those who are ready to sign up to be able to jump on that extended discount.
thank you. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm looking forward. Yeah,
Yes,
and
me too.
yeah, another thing
Yeah.
maybe finally that I can mention, and because we don't have much time left, I think, but
Yeah.
what's good probably also to mention to those who might be interested in joining such a program is that one of the things that the association also offers once people are certified and have done this training is that we offer a platform where with some visibility, right? Because the association wants to advance this practice, so you can have your own profile like we have now on our website. There's people where you can find in what countries or cities can you find workshops, who's there. You can become part of that, right? Part of that community of facilitators.
Yeah.
And then the different kinds of support and exchange that we offer through that. So that's another thing that you can really become part
Yeah.
of, right?
Yeah.
If you step into that. Yeah.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you so much, Anna, for sharing your heart and your wisdom, your background. I know many are eager to understand the depth and the magic of trance movement, and this conversation it's truly a gift. So thank you so much. I really appreciate your time.
Well, thank you, and likewise. Like I said, I'm happy to have met you because I also know that you're into quite similar work also with groups of
Yes.
women and
Yes.
things that you do and offer. And so I'm happy to meet you, and that we will,
Yeah.
meet each other also in September.
I
And
can't wait.
that we have this moment to have this conversation. Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Great.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.